My name is Cheryl Black, and I'm one of the co-lead ministers at the newly amalgamated Broadview United.
And I'm Mark Green, and I'm the other co-lead minister working with Cheryl. And we're very excited to be able to share with you this video today that the Building Redesign Working Group Committee has put together for you to introduce you to some of the designs and thoughts and ideas that they have worked to bring to life this day.
What a joy it has been to work with this committee. This is such a talented group of people. We should all be just so grateful and proud of the depth of talent that is in this new congregation. It's been a real marvel, and we're so appreciative.
In addition to the depth of skill that each of them brought to this task, they also spent a fair bit of time listening to each of you, to your thoughts, your ideas, the values you saw that needed to be expressed in the building and the designs, and the way in which this building would live into not only who we are now, but who we are striving to be into the future, a legacy for generations to come.
The work of the committee was done by everybody collectively, and in the beginning there was two people who were involved with the group, and they've moved on to different things. But I want to acknowledge Mark Anthony, an architect who was with the former congregation, and he brought tremendous skill and know-how to the early part of the work.
The second person was Dr. Faye Schmidt, who is on leave at the moment and will be returning to this work. And she is a psychologist who specializes in the psychology of space and the kinds of needs that people often have as they approach spaces in terms of their sacredness.
And now with those introductions, I'm going to pass it to the whole committee so that you can hear of the wonderful work that's been done.
Hello, I'm Doug Cook, appointed this fall to the design team, filling a space made vacant by Mark Anthony, architect. I'm a board member at Broadview United and was a member at St. Aidan's for many years, and more recently chaired its church council. I'm a retired city planner. 60 years ago, the sanctuary of Cedar Hill Cross was built. 30 years ago, the Commons Wing, including the chapel, the Great Hall, and the thrift store, was added. It was my privilege at that time to serve on the building committee with folks like Don McKay and Sylvia Campbell. Now in 2020, we are embarking on an exciting redesign and revitalization project, which makes the most of our built legacy.
Hi, I'm Marilyn Potman. I'm the interior designer on the Building Reimagining Committee. I joined Cadbury Bay United in 2004, not long after we moved to Victoria, and I was happy to serve on the council as the chair of council and the vice chair of council, and also as the chair of the communications committee. So it's been my home for a long time. And I am also a graduate interior designer from the University of Manitoba in interior design in the Faculty of Architecture. So I was thrilled to be asked to join the Building Reimagining Committee. I'd also like to introduce you to Megan Morrison, who's been working night and day behind the scenes. She takes all of our plans and puts them into AutoCAD drawings that you'll get to see right after these videos. So thank you to her. And finally, I'd like to introduce to you Eddie Williams of Stellar Architectural. He's joining us as the architect on the project. He has years and years of experience dealing with churches and all sorts of large buildings, and he is a building code expert, so we're very grateful to have him join the team.
Hi, my name is Mike Emmy. I've been a part of St. Aidan's United Church since 2008. Well, Mary Jane and I attended a few services a while ago when we were undergraduate students at UVic. I'm absolutely delighted to have been invited to be part of the Broadview United Building Reimagining Committee and look forward to the continued process. Hopefully my background as an art teacher and a teacher of art teachers and research background in collaborative processes, whether creative collaboration or research collaboration, community collaboration, all serves the goal that I hope we all share to create a wonderful shared worship space and community space. What follows are committee member Faye Schmidt's insights. Based on empathetic reading and analysis of the hundreds of congregational responses to the survey used by this committee to open conversations about reimagining our shared building. All of the main design points raised by the congregation fit within our core values of progressiveness, integrity, and connectedness. We feel that using the values to present these design proposals can bring our shared values to life as we see them in these plans. So, a few thoughts. Regarding progressiveness, our goal is to create spaces that work for today's highly varied needs, but also the needs of the congregation over time. Where possible, within the constraints of the amount of work that can be done, we need to emphasize green technology by using LED lights and better insulation. To support our expanding congregation in both face-to-face and socially networked worship and community engagement, we suggest installing high-quality technology in terms of sound, internet, visuals, etc. While the building was carefully designed and created and has been lovingly maintained, there is a need to update for safety through seismic improvements, through the installation of a sprinkler system that will allow the firewall to be opened up a bit, and compliance with today's building standards. So, for example, having wider stairs and passageways. Integrity in our building reimagining process speaks to consultation on many levels. The voice of the congregation is a key consideration throughout the design process. So at the beginning, through the survey, now as part of this presentation, and again at final approval. The space and renovations need to work within available funding, which is why the committee has gone through 2 rounds of design, with round 1 exploring all the congregation's big ideas, and round 2 crafting those big ideas into an affordable package. And care has also been given in soliciting bids and making recommendations to the board for our builder and architect to work with our committee's very talented designer so that the renovation can be successfully completed. In terms of connectedness, the congregation told us that our shared renovated spaces need to respond to the wide range of requirements of both the congregation and the community. Achieving this calls for design approaches that give maximum flexibility. In addition to the importance of feeling connected to each other and the community, the congregation stressed the importance of having its worship space feel connected to light and nature. The Broadview United Sanctuary needs to be a place that can help all who enter that sacred space feel connected to worship.
We're glad you're here today. It's been such an honor and a privilege to work on this exciting design project for the new Broadview United amalgamation. I've had a lifelong interest in interior design and a long career, too many decades to mention, and I have a lifelong love of the United Church, from some of my happiest first memories to serving on the council as the chair and otherwise for the Cadbury Bay group. So I love church and I love design, so this is a very exciting project for me. And I am so grateful for your patience and your trust that you've placed in this team. I know you had to wait a long time to see this video, but we really needed to be fiscally responsible. And so we're proud to finally be able to show it to you. I know a lot of you are coming from the point of this place being your home. It's been your home for 50 years, and you probably feel some apprehension at it being renovated, and we understand that. And for the people coming from the other congregations, we know that you are losing a home of 50 years, and it's going to be difficult to find a sacred space that you feel comfortable in. And so we're working with those two opportunities together. What the Cedar Hill Cross site brings to this project is an amazing building, a 30,000 square foot building that if we tried to recreate in current construction dollars would cost $10.2 million. So it is a gift to have this building that has been so well maintained. And the other groups come with very valuable property that they have lovingly maintained and that are very desirable properties. So we're in this wonderful situation of having the gift of a building and the gift of funds to make it modern, make it safe, make it green. And we also need to plan for a third group, and that is our future generation, and for seekers in the community who haven't found us yet. And as Faye, our team psychologist, said, it is our sacred duty to build a home for those people, to look to the future and build what will serve them in the years to come. And so, without any further ado, I'm happy to review the plans and welcome you into the new and exciting world of what Broadview United will be. Let's start. We're going to discuss the floor plans today. And a floor plan is basically a map of the building. And so if you pretend that you're looking down from above, you can see where the walls and the furniture go. And it leads us to be able to discuss the function of the building. So let's begin with the overall floor plan. What you'll see is that it was originally designed as two different buildings. The first one, the sanctuary, was built in the early 1960s, and the second one, the commons area, was built in the early 1990s, and they're simply separated by a firewall at this point. And because they're such big spaces, what we've decided to do for this presentation is to delve into each of the areas separately so we can really take a look at what's going on. Let's start at the front office door. And from the entry, we move into the core of the building. And the core of the building contains all of the facilities. It's got the stairs, the elevator, the kitchen, and the washrooms. And what we've tried to do was increase circulation in all these spaces to make it more practical and easier to maneuver in the space. And so what you'll see is it's much more open than it used to be, open around the stairs and open around the elevator so that we don't run into bottlenecks, especially as worship is ending. You'll also notice, for those of you familiar with the building, that the staircase has moved. Now, the existing staircase that we have near the elevator is so small, it's only 34 inches wide, which is barely enough for a large man's shoulders to go through. And ideally, we'd be able to have people passing each other or walking together on the stairs, and that will bring it up to meet the building code as well. So our new staircase is 5 feet wide in every direction, which is much safer and much more inviting to use. So please notice that, and you will notice in the core that the washrooms look significantly different than probably what you're used to seeing. And part of the mandate for Broadview United is to make everyone feel welcome where they're at right now. And so we've moved away from the traditional gendered washrooms into individual stalls that can be used by anyone. And the walls will go right to the floor, as will the doors. And then there will be a public hand washing station, which will be very helpful in this COVID time when we've all gotten used to washing our hands so much. But it gives us a lot of flexibility and it gives us a lot of freedoms. And although I personally was a little nervous about it at first, I've come to realize that it really is a beautiful and inclusive way to use the space. Downstairs, we will keep the gendered washrooms. So if anyone is really concerned about that, there will still be gendered washrooms in the building. You can also see that we've greatly increased the upstairs kitchen. It will not be a commercial kitchen. The commercial kitchen will remain downstairs, but it has so much room and sinks and facilities that several groups can work in it at one particular time without any interference to another. As you can see in the existing administration space, we needed to branch out into a different space to accommodate all of the ministerial staff and the ministerial support staff. And so when you look at the common space, what we've done is we've run those offices along the east side of the building and provided for staff. A lot of those offices are again shared space for people who aren't in the building full time. And there are meeting rooms built into that space. And so we've come up with a really practical way for the staff to work together. So separating the ministerial offices is a long, low wall with bookcases and a fireplace. And what that does is it defines the common space. And the library will be on display at all times within the bookcases. And we hope that that opens it up so that people will really use it and feel comfortable and enjoy this space for a little snack and a conversation or whatever we decide to use it for. And as we're amalgamating, each one of our congregations has interacted with the community in different ways, and we'd like to maintain that. And so we've tried to design a space that's flexible, that's large, that's bright, that's clean, that can be removed and replaced. The furniture is all modular, and it can function in so many different ways. We're opening up some new windows to bring some light in there. We've freed the skylight from walls, and we've created a lovely seating area near the fireplace and a games area with our pool table and ping pong. We've created an eating area, and yet all of those things can be put into the storage room, and a large banquet can be set for us as a group or for a wedding. And so this is key to what we're trying to achieve at Broadview, is bright and light and flexible and usable for everyone so that we can have a lot of programs running from it. And beside the open space, what you'll see is we've allowed for 3 very large classrooms that will also function as meeting rooms. And they can be used by the different groups, small groups, big groups, but they're good sized spaces. They're 16 by about 20 feet. So all the spaces are good sized spaces. It's hard to imagine in this big of a building, but they're all very good sized spaces. And we do have a room, one of the classrooms beside the stair, that we're going to use as a creche on Sunday mornings. It'll have storage so all the toys can be put away, and it can serve as a nice quiet space when it's not in use. As we leave the Commons building, let's take a brief look at the boardroom, which we've made into a much more practical size, and the beautiful chapel that we're basically leaving as is. We're simply adding a few extra closets for the Healing Touch tables to go into. So let's go back outside and re-center ourselves in front of the narthex. We're outside of the sanctuary now, and we're just about to enter the narthex. And what we wanted to do was to ensure that the narthex and the sanctuary are welcoming and open and inviting spaces, that people know that this is the place, a safe place to come and worship. And so as we enter the narthex, we've created a bigger and much brighter practical space, carved out from the space that we already had. And what you'll find as you enter is there's a lovely sense of light with a big window that won't be changing because we all love it so much. But there'll be a proper place for coats to be stored away that don't separate us from the sanctuary. And on the other side, there'll be a coffee bar so that as people come in, they can make coffee and tea and feel really welcome in our home. There's lots of room for mingling and conversation, and that's what we want the narthex to be, a really welcoming, warm space. We've divided it from the sanctuary with a full height glass wall. And the intent of this is to separate the two spaces without separating them visually, and so that you'll get that beautiful feeling as you walk in. And yet people who've already taken their coffees and moved in and settled in the sanctuary won't be disrupted by the noise and the weather, cold breeze as they're sitting getting ready to worship. Now let's enter into our beautiful sanctuary. And we're so pleased to have such a beautiful ceiling that is existing in the sanctuary. It was the height of the international style when it was designed 60 years ago and is now lovingly referred to as mid-century modern. And not only is it beautiful, but it provides lovely acoustics that are treasured by this community. The challenges that we've run into are seismic and sprinklering for this age of a building. And what we've found with the seismic engineer is that both the front and the back walls that are made of the concrete block are not seismically sound. And sadly, what that means is if we encounter a large earthquake, that beautiful ceiling will come down. And that is not safe, and that is not anything any of us ever wants to happen. And so within these plans and these costs, we have allowed to create shear walls, they're called, especially on the front wall. And what that is, it's adding drywall to the front wall to stabilize it in case of any movement. And at the back wall, we've added extra fins of structure that will align with the glass wall to keep that wall from moving. And so what that means is that we will be in a very seismically safe building. And we've also decided that we need to add sprinklers to the building. Neither building is sprinklered right now. And for the safety of all involved, it's an important measure that we've decided that we need to take. Now, with these structural changes, it does mean that the front wall will need to be altered, and it does mean that the existing organ pipes will have to be taken down. But it does provide us with a brand new canvas for all of the different styles of worship that we want to do, and all of the audiovisual equipment that goes along with worship these days. And so we will definitely have an electronic organ, but we have a wide open slate to make this sanctuary bright and beautiful. And as you go along the side walls where the alcoves are, we've allowed for sacred spaces there too. We'll have tables where candles can be lit, flowers can be placed, and they will have windows that will access both the south side sunlight and the sunken garden, which we will probably raise up so that it is more of a true level garden. But all of these will work to brighten and lighten the space and to bring nature in and to make us more available to those who are coming to join us. Sort of like St. Luke's did in their beautiful renovation, where they really opened it up to the natural light. And as you can see from the different seating plans, we've decided to go with pew chairs. And this leads to very functional, flexible worship space. So the sanctuary can be configured in many different ways. And you'll see different plans showing how different worship services can look, from being completely open to as many chairs as possible put in there, to our standard plan that will circle the stage. The stage is now coming out at the front so that the ministers can feel a little more connected to the congregation as they're speaking. And the congregation, they feel like they can really be in tune with what is going on in the worship itself. Now, let's take a look at the chancel, the stage of the church. And as you come up to it, as we mentioned, there is a projected center portion so that the ministers can feel really part of the congregation when they're speaking. On either side, you'll notice that we've incorporated ramps into the actual design to make them gently accessible for everybody with mobility issues and for everyone using the stage for musical instruments. It will make them, they're wide, they're easy to access. Because they're symmetrical and curved, they help create that sacred beauty of the space that we're trying to achieve. The finish itself will remain in the oak, and you can see that there's plenty of room for the choir to sing and the musicians to play without crowding anyone. As we're leaving the sanctuary, we go back into the commons area. And right now, it's a very tight corridor, but what we've been able to achieve with the sprinklering and the moving of the stairs is to really widen that corridor. So the corridor between the two gets expanded to over 12 feet with double doors. And so it's a much safer, easier less of a bottom. And now let's travel down the stairs because I'd like to show you what's on the lower level. So landing on the lower level, we're in the core again near the elevator. But what you can see is it's a much easier, safer, clearer walk to the lower hall. And the lower hall is a huge space, and we're very blessed to have it. It's the same size as the sanctuary, and it will become a community hub for many different activities. The commercial kitchen will stay. In the lower level washrooms, we've made a couple of changes. What we've done is we've added 2 large, accessible, non-gendered washrooms to the entry of the existing washrooms. This allows for much easier and safer access. And because we were able to do this, we've been able to rework the bathrooms a little bit and include an extra stall in each washroom. This will also give us the opportunity to clear out all the drains which have been causing trouble over the years. There will be offices for other partners down there. And at the other end of the stair, we've currently renovated the thrift store, which will be an exciting opening. And there's a daycare looking at building into that space as well. And so the whole lower level will function as outreach and community partnership. And it's a lot of space, and it's wonderful space, and we're very pleased to have it.
So now we come to the financial question. How much is this going to cost, and where is the money coming from? The working group and the board had several contractors give a preliminary bid on the project based on the drawings that you've all seen, in order to see if we were in the ballpark for a manageable budget. The initial estimate was about $2.6 million. There are other items, however, not in that amount, such as architect and interior design work, structural and electrical engineers, landscaping, signage, and a contingency fund. The total for those things come in at around $900,000. So the total budget is closer to $3.5 million. To put that into perspective, if the building had to be replaced tomorrow due to a fire, the replacement cost would come in at around $10.5 to $12 million. This building has been very well maintained, and the upgrades will create a building that will serve the community and the congregation well for the next quarter century. It's an investment in both now and a legacy for the future. We are fortunate to have 2 other properties whose value can help us to fund this renovation, as well as other ministry initiatives. We are anticipating that between the 2 properties, there will be about $6 million realized after fees and mortgages are paid off. We have committed a 10% tithe to the work of reconciliation in conjunction with the Pacific Mountain region and the indigenous community of the United Church. And we have committed an additional 10% to the work of the Pacific Mountain region, with the specific designation of those funds to be negotiated with the executive minister of the region. The first $200,000 of that will go to a new fund created to support the work of campus ministry across the region. Additional funds have been earmarked to fund some of our new initiatives, such as the social enterprises, additional staffing, and programs in the interim period. Some of the leftover will be placed into the legacy funds for investment and future initiatives. While $6 million sounds like a lot, as you can see, much of it is committed with the current initiatives. Thankfully, we have been holding our own with the ongoing generous support of the donations from members and adherents and support from the federal government grants. We do not know when our other revenue streams will come back to normal, like rental revenue, thrift store, and such. But we are confident in your ongoing support.
So there you have it, my friends. I know it's a lot to take in, and I'm sure you have a lot of questions. But I'd like to thank you for the energy that you've given us Throughout this entire amalgamation process, so many of you have shared your thoughts and your goals and your dreams with us, and we've tried to bring them to reality for you. And so we hope that this presentation has calmed some of your anxiety or fears, and we hope that with all of that beautiful, vibrant energy that brought this amalgamation into being, that we can fearlessly move into the future together.
We'd be delighted to hear your feedback. Please write to us at this email address, reno@broadviewunited.com. We'd love to hear what you like and what suggestions, questions, or concerns you have. While we can't promise to respond to each and every one of you individually, we can promise that your feedback will be attentively read and considered as we put together the final proposal for the congregation to vote on in the new year. Thank you for spending this time with us.